Hey everyone, my name is Rico, and today we have the Nike LeBron 18 Low review for you guys. But before we get into that, I do just want to give a special shout out to two small business companies, 3Up Prints supplying all the SneakerWeb apparel that will be coming to you guys shortly in the near future, and to Lethal, who just makes some awesome dope t-shirts that you guys should check out. And with that being said, let's get right into it. So starting off with the traction on the LeBron 18 Low, it's pretty identical to the LeBron 18 that I have here. Pretty much to me, it looks like they just tweaked around with the rubber compound. I do hope that they didn't tweak it a little too much, because that is one of the things that I did like on the LeBron 18 going into this one. So I hope that they kept it here with this and still have the little bumps here in the back. I personally didn't have a problem with them in the LeBron 18. So again, I just hope that the rubber compound doesn't mess with this shoe entirely. And getting into the cushion, that is one of the major changes going into the LeBron 18, which we still have the Max Air unit in the back, but instead of having full Zoom Air in the forefoot, we now have Nike React foam in the front. So to give you kind of a smoother, neutral ride instead of a responsive, bouncy ride that you get in the Zoom. Personally, try on. I actually do like what they did with this. You could honestly go with either option. It's actually more or less your preference with this. Do you want a closer to the ground feeling, or do you want to be bouncing off the walls? It's just kind of your preference at that point. And getting along to the upper right here, this is one of the things that is very noticeable on the LeBron 18 Low compared to the LeBron 18 Mid, I guess, even though they're pretty much the same collar height. So I don't know if it's just a marketing term or whether or not they actually decided to try to make it a low, but basically you guys tell me, they pretty much look like the same collar height to me. But back to the materials, they use all synthetic with this. They ditched the battle net that they used on this, and they have a synthetic nubuck in the back with some synthetic ripstop overlays with some fused pieces, which is the blue highlighted areas. And speaking of the colorway, I actually really do enjoy this. Being from Florida, gotta represent Miami in some sort of way, especially with Chris being my partner, who him and his brother are from Miami as well. I'm pretty sure these are called Neon Lights or Fireberry, whichever one the internet is dubbing these at that point. Me personally, I'm just sticking with the Miami theme on this one. That's what I rep here. Now, in the eyelids, we also have some more synthetic materials. So really trying them on, the major differences that you're going to notice is that this does feel a little bit lighter on foot. I know that some people were having some issues with some hot spots with the LeBron 18. It will suffocate you a little bit, and that's just because there's pretty much just no perforations with these except within the tongue here, but you only get 6 air holes out of, a light breathable mesh upper. So hoping that will solve some of the breathability issues with these. And getting into the fit and the support and containment in this shoe, trying this on, I do feel that this does feel a little bit more secure compared to this, because the lace structure is a classic lace structure. So, wherever you lace it at, it's just going to go directly to those points. With this, it wasn't really necessarily that case, even though you had those bungee cable fly wires, because you could still tip over the footbed. I don't feel like the footbed contained you in the best way in the LeBron 18. That heel counter in the back really saved you in a lot of cases. Now with this, you still have that beefy heel counter. I do feel it's a little smaller, a little less cage in the back, but you do have some Achilles cushions and some heel padding in there to help secure you in and suck you into the back heel. So I do feel you're going to be covered in that aspect. And also you sit, like I mentioned, a little lower to the ground, so I do feel you're going to get a bit more support out of this shoe. But we'll find out more on how these perform later in the performance review. And since you guys have stayed this long, I will be giving the performance review of the LeBron 18 right now. So let's head over to the board of shoe science and find out how the LeBron 18 did. Hey everyone, and welcome to the board of shoe science, where today we are going to be talking about the LeBron 18. And with that being said, let's get right to the bottom of the shoe, starting off with the traction. In the forefoot section, we have this milk crate pattern, which handles all the multi-directional moves that you do on the basketball court. And these little nubs back here, they did do its job somehow. I'm assuming it has to do primarily with the rubber compound in these shoes. But other than that, I really had no issues with these whatsoever. In lateral movements, crossovers, step backs, jab steps, push-offs, anything like that, you really had no issues with this. Now, I did play these both indoors and outdoors. This is definitely more of a indoor basketball shoe. The rubber is a little too pliable for playing outdoors. You are going to burn through them relatively quickly. And for a $200 shoe, I don't think you want that, especially if you're playing outdoors and you want to spend the money on a $200 shoe and just burn through them. Not necessarily the smartest decision, but hey, some people do it. And again, with the forefoot, mostly on the lateral section, that's where I started to lose a lot of the traction in that area. For me personally, your foot strike patterns could be different, but that's really where I lost a lot of the traction here. And then getting to the cushion, Nike basically just threw every single cushion technology that they had in this shoe. They have a Max Air unit in the back, and in the cavity of that U-shaped Max Air unit, they have a Zoom airbag right in the cavity of that goes full length. And then you have the Cushlon midsole housing, and that kind of contains everything in the forefoot while also keeping a soft, responsive ride. A little too soft in my opinion, just for my personal flavor. And but it worked. Very bouncy cushion, very stable. Even this Max Air unit, it's actually pretty supportive. I didn't have any major issues with tipping over or anything like that. More about that in the support section, but just the cushion alone, if you just want to buy a shoe mostly on cushion, then the LeBron 18 is definitely a shoe you should consider. And going to the support and lockdown of this shoe, we have the massive external heel counter right here, and then you have these forefoot zones, bungees here in the back, and those, I was happy with them and I wasn't at the same time. So they did a very good job at locking down the midfoot and forefoot, but I would have turned this bungee and aimed it more towards the heel, so that way it feels more like one shoe, because basically at this 3/4 mark, you felt the heel counter and you felt the midfoot locked down to the forefoot shoe, but you really felt at this point that there really wasn't a connection between the shoe. You felt like you were playing in two different things. And to have support in the shoe, you really don't want to feel that. Makes you a little hesitant on certain moves and certain things, and you really don't want that on the basketball court. You don't want to be hesitant, because then the other person gets a step ahead of you. Now, getting to the fit section of the shoe, I recommend going true to size on these. I went with my size 11. Again, this is for normal and narrow footers. With wide footers, I do recommend going up half a size, because these forefoot bungees will tear into you. I do think Chris is our local wide footer here, and he recommended the same thing as well. And that kind of wraps things up for the LeBron 18 with the board of shoe science. And that also wraps everything up for the LeBron 18 Low. I do hope that the LeBron 18 Low fixes a lot of the issues that was in the LeBron 18, like the lockdown and fit of the shoe. So far it's looking promising, but you guys are gonna have to subscribe and find out next time on SneakerWeb and see how it does on the board of shoe science. And with that being said, guys, peace.